What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to Summertime Madness Night 2. I'm, of course, your host with the most, Matty G, coming to you live from Isolation Station 1123. Tonight, we are going to be crowning our GameZone champion. And unfortunately, due to personal circumstances, our reigning champion, Tarrin, decided he had to step away from trivia. We wish him all the best in his endeavors, but we have to bring somebody up for that belt. So I will introduce our competitors first, then I'll bring in our judges, then we'll go over the rules, and we'll get started. So, introducing first, the quote-unquote belted Papa West. How goes it, sir?
Oh, it's going good, Matt. And, we can just let the cat out of the bag. The reason Tarrin quit is because he knew he got lucky when he beat me the first time, and he knew I was coming for him, and he didn't want to face the wrath of Papa. Whoa. So he was like, nah, I'm going to step out. This was fun. I'm not ready to face the Papa. So yes, right now I am the belted Papa. Where's my hand? There's my hand. The belted Papa. But in an hour, I'm about to be Papa Two Belts.
Whoa, big words. All right, mister. I will drop you to the back and bring in your competition. Introducing second. He is our Mandalorian. He is Nicky. This is the way, sir.
Oh, yes, this is the way. I just dropped out of hyperspace and don't know where I am. Apparently, this is a video game debate. I will be debating Jacob West, and hopefully I will be winning. I'm honored to have you all here to witness this historic event. And, yeah.
Oh, good for you.
All righty. And we cannot do this alone, of course, because these being two of my good buddies, they might see me as biased. So I brought in 3 judges from around the interwebs. One of these people you may not know, but I'm sure you'll get to know him shortly. I guess I'll go to the man to my right first. He is the COVID-19 wolf, Mr. Adam. How's it going tonight, sir?
Good. Thank you for having me on the video game show. I usually talk about movies, but I am a veteran of Atari's Empire Strikes Back. I've played and defeated that game many times. I'm a veteran of the NES Batman. And I once played Rambo on the original Sega Master System for 24 hours straight.
I don't know really what to say to that, but okay. You'll definitely understand one of these questions. I guess we'll go down to the man to below me. He is the man, the myth, the legend. He is Mr. JB3. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. How's it going? I'm here. I love debating. I believe this is my first GameZone. I'm a gamer. I love games. I don't play that much anymore because I don't have time. But the fondest memories I've had playing video games. If there's any credibility, I beat Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, the Master Edition, in less than a week. That's about my biggest accomplishment. But I'm ready to hear these guys go, and this is for championship. So I want you two both to bring it.
Well, I'm sure they will. Now, the man that I said you may not know, you do know his family if you watch my show. He is a member of the Silvis clan, which if you haven't watched our video with them, go back and give that a watch. But this man, if you know them, he is the nerdy, the geekiest of them all. But he will get under your skin. He is Witness or William Silvis. Welcome to the Game Zone, sir.
It's good to be here. I'd say for when it comes to video games, I'll have to say my biggest achievements are about over 200 hours in Samurai Warriors 2 back in PS2 days, as well as for my oldest games, I'll have to say just playing on my grandparents' old friggin' Dreamcast that they kept over the years, as well as killing over 1 million people on World of Warcraft, but that's another day.
Definitely a conversation for another day. All right, so I will bring back our competitors into this, so everybody can get a gist of the rules. Rules are simple. You got a 90-second opening, a 5-minute free-form debate. Let's keep it civil. We are friends here, even though one of us supposedly dropped out of hyperspace, but, you know, that's a different story.
I hate you more.
And then we have a 60-second closing. And here in the game zone, we have what we call the extra life. Ooh, basically that adds a minute to your opening or your closing. We're not going to add that to your 5-minute debate because why the hell would you want to give your opponent, you know, extra time to beat on you? All you have to do is before you start talking, go, hey, Maddie, I want to use my extra life and I'll add more time to the timer. Let's keep it civil because I do have what we call the pause button. If y'all start talking over each other, I will shut you down, make you wait 10 seconds, and then start it. I don't care if that takes us to time. That sucks to be you. Competitors, judges, does anybody have any questions, comments?
I don't know, but do we roll for initiative?
I just want to say that I could tell a difference in generation because your grandparents had an old Dreamcast, and in my day that was the Commodore 64 or whatever, like the like that's what the grandparents had. I love that yours had a Dreamcast, and that was like the old game.
Well, that was actually my when it came to my mama having a hold of it. She was like, "Yeah, they bought me this," and I was like, "And they kept it for that long."
In television, that was the one the grandparents had because you would get one if you went to like an insurance seminar or whatever. The thing you're like, come listen to the guy. We'll give you this high piece of technology.
All right. So basically, it's the first. Let me go over the rules real quick. It's basically the first to 3 points. The judges, myself, will hear your debate, and they will decide who has the best debate. If the judges award you per question 2 points, you get the point. First to 3, you win. All right. Question, which comes in the strength of Nicky's RPG. And the question is, what Disney film should be the next map in Kingdom Hearts? I can't even read my own writing. Since this is Nicky's strength, he will go first. You have 90 seconds. I will pop back in at about 5 seconds left to go. Nicky, let me hop out. Whoa! Let me pop out and start talking.
Okay, so I chose Thor Ragnarok. The reason I chose Thor Ragnarok, the parameters were wide, and it was the logical choice. The question states which movie would be the best setting. There's several, which movie would be the best map, I'm sorry. But there are several settings within Thor Ragnarok that could be multiple maps. I mean, you have the Sanctum Sanctorum with Doctor Strange. There could be all kinds of different weapons, upgrades in there. That could honestly be a side mode of the game if you wanted it to be. You have the Grandmaster's Planet Zakar. You could scavenge for parts. You can find different scrap metal there, different things. And then eventually to move on to the next round, next level, you have to play in a gladiator pit. I mean, what video game isn't made better by both a gladiator pit and also you could be imprisoned on Zakar? Prison scenes are also good. And then that movie finishes out in Asgard. Asgard is a place of royalty. All kinds of different trinkets and magical objects you could find there. So that's why I think that Kingdom Hearts, I think they're going all Disney. They're going all the way. And Thor Ragnarok has many different settings throughout that movie. It would be a perfect setting for a sort of video game map in a Kingdom Hearts style game. And I'll concede the rest of my time. Not that there's much.
Okay, with 13 seconds left on the clock. Papa West, 90 seconds when you start talking.
So not only what should Kingdom Hearts use, but what deserves to be used. And Nicky, thank you so much for not picking something Star Wars, because we've already had enough Star Wars, and I am a huge Star Wars nerd. So what I picked is a movie that when it was coming out, it was being praised because it was the sequel to a movie 20 years previous, but also a lot of people are going to praise it because of the graphics. The movie that I'm talking about is Tron Legacy. And the setting of Tron Legacy that should be used in the next Kingdom Hearts game is the grid. I mean, when you think of the grid, just the whole dark blue color of everything, then you have those light blue graphics coming up. You have the saber bikes, the laser discs, just the whole light. It was a video game in a movie that people wanted to see. Unfortunately, when the movie came out, it bombed. Not many people were not fans of it, and it's been about 10 years since we've seen that. So now is also the perfect time to see the grid come back in Kingdom Hearts. And let me just show you this picture. Let me make sure I can see that. You all can see that. I mean, that's just video game material right there. I wanna see that in a video game so badly.
Time. Alrighty, gentlemen. 5 minutes when somebody starts talking. Fight it out.
Okay, Nicky, so yes, you can do whatever you want. But here's the thing, Nicky. Nicky, you need to be quiet. You need to be quiet. Here's the issue with Thor Ragnarok. Yes, you have a lot of different settings, but let's be honest. You know, when you open up, you're in that hell world with Surtur. Not really a fun place to be. Then you go to Asgard, which might be fun to see. Then you're on Earth with the Inner Sanctum with Doctor Strange. You go to Sakaar. The only cool thing about Sakaar is the music and the arena, which would not transfer.
You've done an excellent job at naming maps for me. But your pick, Tron Legacy, I mean, ultimately, it's a movie that nobody liked. Nobody watched it. It's not great. It's not entertaining.
Because it was poorly
Thor
executed.
Ragnarok is relevant. Hey, I gave you your time to talk. Give me mine. Thor Ragnarok is relevant. It's within the zeitgeist. Tron, you're not going to sell a video game on Tron. You could sell a video game on being in the gladiator pits of Sakaar. You could sell a video game on raiding Doctor Strange's sanctum. There are several settings in this movie that would make great maps in a Kingdom Hearts game. And that's what I really want to see from video games is integration. Thor is owned by Disney. Marvel is owned by Disney. Show us the properties that are relevant today with people not only going to movies, but gamers alike. You want people that you want to expand past just a gaming audience, right? And that's what you got to do to get people like me to play them is put Thor in your video game. I would play a Kingdom Hearts game because Thor's in it.
But really, you don't need that with Kingdom Hearts. Kingdom Hearts is a brand on its own that most people are in love with. It doesn't need the help of the Avengers, of things like that to help it sell. It sells on its own. So why not let's take Tron Legacy, which, again, did not work. It was very poorly executed. So let's take it, let's execute it right. And then, hey, maybe later down the road we hear, hey, we're going to remake Tron and Tron Legacy because what came out is not what was deserved. Now we can fix it. We can get it what it's deserved. With Thor Ragnarok, hey, that's cute. We're throwing in all these places that, let's be honest, we've been to many times. I don't really want to see it.
And that's literally what Kingdom Hearts is about, though. And that's the thing about your Tron game. That would be a great game, but does it belong in a Kingdom Hearts game? I don't think it does, because what are you going to do with the other Disney characters as soon as Tron guys show up? But it just doesn't fit in with it. If you have these Asgardian maps, Doctor Strange's Sanctum, the Gladiator Pit of Sakaar, you wouldn't even have to make an entire map out of it. You could just do these little almost side quests, side missions. Gladiator Pit of Sakaar, you could have Jeff Goldblum voiceover, like an entrance. You could have all kinds of different things. Jeff Bridges could return for a video game, for a Tron game, but I just don't see it fitting in with what.
I mean, I don't need Jeff Bridges. Here's the great thing: you and your entire party are in that Tron outfits. You're in the solid black with the highlights. You're going on the laser bikes. The streams following you. Everyone's dressed like that, and it can be Disney characters because that's what Kingdom Hearts is. I don't need to throw everyone into the Marvel world because the Marvel world's great. We don't need that. We need this that did not do well so it can do well.
just because it does do well doesn't mean that it can't do better. That's what being human is all about. It's about bettering ourselves. We can better Kingdom Hearts. We can make more people play it. That would get me to play a Kingdom Hearts game. And honestly, Tron would get me to play a Kingdom Hearts game too. But both of these are great answers, is what I'm saying. I just think my answer fits more in line with what Disney's trying to push right now. They use Kingdom Hearts as a way to display their brand, to advertise to people what they own. It's almost an expo in a video game. And Tron right now, I don't see them doing anything with it right now. I don't think it fits within their business plan. Whereas Marvel, whereas Thor, whereas Sakaar, Jeff Goldblum, Doctor Strange, the Sanctum Sanctorum, all this stuff fits into their big overall Bob Iger plan.
Well, why not? Let's take this property that we own. Let's make it better so we can capitalize on it. And one great thing too, the world of Tron Legacy, the grid, fits in video games. It's a computer program, so it fits well in video games. But then also you have the main villain, Clue, the computer program that's trying to take over the world. Hey, you as your characters, guess what? You're going to stop it. So it's not just a map, it's the entire game. Whereas with yours, you're just going off place to place. That's cute.
But
Mine,
you're
you have the entire
Tron game, not a Kingdom Hearts game.
I'm pitching a Kingdom Hearts game set in Tron.
This is more in line with what Disney's doing.
Time! Woo! All right, this is getting heated already. Papa West, this is Nicky Strike, so you're going to close first. You got 1 minute when you start talking.
So yes, you talk about Disney's plan. Disney doesn't really have a plan with Kingdom Hearts. You know, we've seen their movie stuff, and Marvel stands alone. But also, they really haven't talked about giving us Sakaar back. And again, Sakaar in a video game would be cool for the Gladiator arena, but that's it. When Bruce and Thor were traveling the cities, there wasn't a lot dragging you in. Like, man, I want to stay here. No, you wanted to go to the Devil's Anus and leave as quickly as you could. That's exactly what would happen if they brought a video game. Plus, with Asgard, you're with a bunch of snobby Asgardians. That's not really fun. With Tron Legacy, you are in the world of the grid. All the characters are with you, dressed just like you, that black with the highlights. The entire area looks cool. There can be shops to upgrade your weapons. There can be little gladiator areas. You're going to be on the bikes anyways. There's racing. There's going to be the laser disc fights. That world just translates.
Time. All right, Nicky, close out this round. 1 minute.
So Disney owns a lot of properties, and it's hard to get muddled in this stuff with what exactly fits in a Kingdom Hearts game. And I think what really fits in a Kingdom Hearts game is magic. Tron, that's more science fiction. And Disney owns a lot of characters. Like they said, technically Disney owns Homer Simpson. Are you going to put Homer Simpson in a Kingdom Hearts game? No, that wouldn't fit. Tron, I think it would make a great video game, great levels on a lot of video games. What I am saying is what would fit more in a Kingdom Hearts game. And I'm just imagining Mickey Mouse in the Sanctum Sanctorum with all these magical artifacts. I'm imagining these characters from vast different franchises all over. Goofy, Donald Duck, fighting in the gladiator pits of Sakaar with Jeff Goldblum narrating. It just seems to me like Kingdom Hearts is a way for Disney to push their brand, push what's popular right now. And I think right now what's popular is Marvel, and that will sell more video games than Tron will.
All righty, gentlemen, let me bring our judges back in. When y'all got your ideas together,
yeah,
give a nod and we'll get going.
So this was a very good debate. I literally went back and forth the whole time. As soon as Nicky said Thor Ragnarok, I was like, that's a great idea. But then the next topic came along, and that's a really good idea too.
So, since Mr. COVID-19, who gets your point?
Just a couple more points to because I also wanted to keep my own personal interests out of this and be an impartial judge. One of the advantages of putting Tron and Kingdom Hearts is if it gets popular and if kids who don't know about Tron get into Tron, we get a Tron 3. But I'm going to leave that aside.
Bring the old school in with the new school. I enjoy
the number of games that you can play in Tron. How striking the visuals are. I mean, I know Sakaar is great. It would be great to play in the Devil's Anus, I guess, if you're a kid playing this game.
He said that, not me.
They're probably not going to put that part in the game, but and I think the portals is a great idea. It opens you up to other maps. But the number of games you can play in the grid and the number of things they haven't even done with the grid yet is just too much potential. And also, Jeff Bridges is better than Jeff Goldblum. So if you've got to pick a celebrity that you want to hear narrate it, I'm going Jeff Bridges. I got to give points to Tron. I love it. I love that there's a possibility of a Tron 3 if Kingdom Hearts goes to Tron.
All right, let's go to the man to your left. Witness, who did you think gave the better argument?
Okay, so I'm not even gonna lie, I was all for Thor, but after sitting there and thinking after a while, as well as listening to the points, there were some pretty good points, as well as the implementation about adding different parts of the world. It would put a lot of really good visuals out there, as well as getting more of the modern stuff in there. But here's the thing, as well as I personally, when I saw this, I was like, I don't know about Tron. But then I thought about it, I was like, actually, modernizing Tron even further, especially with the new stuff that you could implement in there with technology nowadays, would blow your mind. Especially when it comes to the points that I've heard, like, for sure, my points have to go to Papa, for sure.
All right. JB3, who, just out of curiosity, who would you have gone with?
Yeah, I was listening to it, and both were great answers. I went with the one who was talking about how it was more in line with what Kingdom Hearts was, and more in line with what they did. Also, the side modes and the maps and all the different things that could happen. And with that, I gave my point to Nicky, but it don't matter. But yeah, I thought there was just more examples.
That's all right.
The other interesting part of that argument is Nicky kept talking about the properties that Disney has acquired. Great thing about Tron is it's an old school Disney property. They developed that property. It's real Disney that never really got going. It's almost like having two movies of Star Trek. It's like, there's so much more you could do with this concept.
Well, Papa West struck first blood, but you know what?
Good argument.
It's a long match. Let's move on to question number 2. And that comes in Jacob's strength of classics. And the question is, what is the most iconic pre-1985 side scroller? Papa, this is your strength, so you're going to go first. 90 seconds when you start talking.
So, the most iconic side-scrolling game, and you can take that pre-1985 and throw it out the window, because this is the most iconic side-scrolling game of all time, and it just so happens to fall in between your little time period, Matt. It's the game that really built the Nintendo Entertainment System, and even whenever they rebranded the NES Classic, it was the first game that was on there. It's something that has built Nintendo to the powerhouse it is today. In fact, this character is the mascot of Nintendo, the juggernaut it is today. The game I am talking about came out in 1985, which Matt did say is legal for this. Game I am picking as the most iconic side scroller is Super Mario Bros. Plain and simple, you play as Mario, who transcended video games. My parents hardly ever play video games. I wore a shirt with Mario on it. They knew who Mario was. Most people know who that character is. And it's a very simple concept. He goes, he beats up Bowser, he gets his girlfriend. A concept that has been used many times after this. When you think of video games, you think of Mario, and this is his game. Super Mario Bros., the most iconic game of all time.
All righty, Nicky, minute and a half when you start talking.
So the game that I picked was Asteroids, and the reason I picked it was because this is a game that really put games on the map for people. A lot of people weren't really familiar with video games. A lot of people may not have played video games before Asteroids. Asteroids is a game that if you went to your local pizza place, local bar, they may have an Asteroids machine there, and it would eat your quarters the entire night. Premise is simple. You're a little space fighter, and you're shooting the little dots. I'll be honest, the gameplay isn't the best. It doesn't live up as well as other games from that era. It's not as playable as other games in that era. But the question was, which is the most iconic pre-1985 side-scroller? And that's the reason why I chose Asteroids. The concept, you're in a starfighter, you're shooting things, is still made today. I don't think that in-home video games would have been as popular as they were without their arcade predecessors. And Asteroids was one of the most popular of the bunch. I remember when I had my first cell phone, not a smartphone, I was playing Asteroids on that smartphone. You can play Asteroids with very minimal technology. Sorry, not smartphone, little cell phone. But very minimal technology, you can play Asteroids, and there's a reason why they have released Asteroids for multiple different platforms, multiple different next-gen consoles. It's because it's a classic. It might not be the most playable thing. It might not live up as well, but it's still an icon nonetheless.
Time. Let me get my timer set. All right, gentlemen, 5 minutes. Fight it out.
Nicky, I'm going to ask you a quick question. When you think of the NES, what comes to your mind?
Metroid comes to mind. Metroid's the best game for NES. They had the guts to put a woman as the lead character, disguise her in the space armor so that you wouldn't know that she was a woman. And at the end of the game, you figure out that it's a woman. It's not Super Mario Brothers.
I forgot that I asked this question to a person who doesn't really know video games, because Metroid came out with the SNES, not the NES. Now, when you think of the NES, when you think of Nintendo in general,
Maddie, do me a favor, fact check Metroid on NES.
You think of Super Mario Bros. When you think of the Atari, you think of Pong. You think of Pitfall. You think of Adventure.
I think of Asteroids.
It takes some time to get to Asteroids. And you said it, the gameplay is horrible. Asteroids is fun. Hey, I can sit down for 30 minutes.
Iconic.
Play
it's
it.
iconic.
Really
How many quarters were put into machines at pizza places because kids wanted to play Asteroids? I'm not saying what the better game is. The better game is Super Mario Brothers. What I was asked was, what's more iconic? You don't get Super Mario Brothers without Asteroids. People don't like Super Mario Brothers without Asteroids. Atari was put on the map because of Asteroids. It's a space starfighter game. Things that we still see today. If we're not asking about how iconic the character is of Mario either. That's a question that we'll get to later tonight. Asteroids is the more iconic side-scrolling video game.
100% is not. And it really isn't. Because if you ask people about Asteroids, their first thought is the things up in the sky. I literally Googled Asteroids, and it was talking about the rocks in space. You have to say, okay, no, I want the Asteroids video game. When you Google Mario, first thing that comes up is Super Mario Bros. Because when you think of Mario, you think of Super Mario Bros. Plus, how many games?
I think Super Mario 64.
How many games have you played where you go and you travel through 8 worlds, you have different levels, and at the end of the level is a boss?
But every single level is the same. And not to say that every single level isn't the same. On
every
Asteroids,
single level is
Asteroids
different.
Within every single where that you would see an arcade cabinet. Yes, Pong was iconic, but that's not a side-scrolling video game. We're talking about side-scrolling video games. We're talking about things that come down at you or go left to right, as Google would define it. Asteroids was iconic for Atari. It's there in every pizza place. People, every time I go to an arcade today, if I could still go to arcades today, they still have classic Atari video games there, and they still have Asteroids there because that's a cool concept. You're in a spacecraft and you're shooting things in space. What would you rather do? Sit in the craft and shoot things in space, or be a plumber?
I mean, you're killing evil turtles and mushrooms. That's pretty cool. And again, I love how you say that all the worlds are the same.
Cool.
You say that all the worlds are the same in Super Mario Bros.
All the worlds are the same in Asteroids too. I fully acknowledge that.
But they're not the same in Super Mario Bros. There are 8 unique levels. You have
Turn
World
that way,
1.
You jump. You go down the pipe. You get the flag. You get.
But you're doing it.
It's a
you're
simple
doing it
concept. And that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about what's more iconic. What's more iconic is Asteroids. People knew what Asteroids was before they even knew what Nintendo was. It's an icon amongst the game industry. It's been released on multiple different systems. Even though those systems are way outdated for the graphics that they have, they still use these Atari graphics. It was on a Kyocera cell phone that I had when I was a kid. It's iconic.
Name one game that you have played in the last 3 years on a modern console with the graphics of Asteroids. I'm going to answer that right now. Because you haven't played any with the same graphics because the graphics are outdated.
You don't play them with the same graphics. They use
you just said
they released it on next-gen consoles.
That they use the same graphics. They do not use the same graphics.
They don't use this. They use the same graphics on Asteroids. They don't use the same graphics on the video game. They're using Asteroids. It's the Asteroids game. It's the same Asteroid game that's always been there. And you're playing it on Xbox. You're playing it on a PlayStation. You're playing it on a GameCube. Atari releases an Atari Classics disc. That's what I'm talking about. I'm not saying they still use Asteroid graphics. That would be absolutely mad. What they do still do, though, is they still make Starfighter simulators. Just like
anytime
Asteroids.
They have the classics, though,
virtual reality.
Anytime they have the classics, they pretty much rebrand the game to make it look like exactly how it did. That's every single classic game. Plus, with Super Mario Bros., the look of that's so iconic. When they made Super Mario Maker or Mario Maker and Mario Maker 2, you could make worlds in Super Mario Bros. Because that translates well today.
It's not about how it translates. No, what's more iconic? What's more iconic is Asteroids.
Woo! All right, guys. That was intense. Nicky, 1 minute. Start talking.
So the question was, what is the most iconic video game? Not what the best video game is, not which game translates better to modern day consoles, but what is the most iconic video game? The most iconic video game was Asteroids. Asteroids hasn't had to change it to get people to still play it on those Atari greatest hits discs or downloads that they still come out with. Atari has released Asteroids on more platforms that I could name in the amount of time that I had left. Cell phones, GameCubes, Xboxes, PlayStations, PC. It's all the same game. It doesn't have the same legacy that Mario has, where it has all the sequels and all the development, all the evolution in technology. This isn't about evolution. This is about classics. This is about the past. This is about what's remembering the icons of the past. And Asteroids is an icon of the past. You ask anybody who is in that era, who is alive in that era, they will tell you about playing Asteroids. You had to be privileged to play Super Mario.
Time. All right, Papa West, this is your strength. Wrap up this round.
So again, when I think of going to the arcade, I think of playing Pac-Man, Galaga, Centipede, games like that. It takes a while before I get down to Asteroids. When I think of playing the Atari, I think of playing Pitfall, Adventure, Pong. I think of a lot of games before I get to Asteroids, plus Pitfall is a side-scrolling game. When I think of playing a game on my phone, I think of playing Snake, not Asteroids. I think you like Asteroids. That's cool. It's not an iconic game. It might be your favorite game. What is truly iconic is Mario. And you said that all the levels are the same. There are 8 different worlds. There's the normal world. There's a water world, sand world. You're in Bowser's castle. There are so many different worlds. And well, yes, it's kind of the same. You run and jump on enemies. They make the levels move with you. They put different things in there. You go underground into caves. It's amazing what you can do with Super Mario Bros. And it's the most iconic game of all time.
Time. All right. I am going to bring our judges back in.
My glasses came apart.
Everybody kind of get their... That's not good. Everybody get their thoughts. We'll go with Witness when he's ready. Oh, fact check. Metroid did come out in the NES in 1986. Just point of reference?
Thank you.
So this one was definitely a really good argument. Like I genuinely enjoyed this, but looking at it in like a definition of like the word iconic, looking at it in different perspectives was definitely entertaining to see on both sides here. But seeing as the word iconic being something that's like the image of something, like the image of a time or an image of a brand even, it's hard to really not look at it to where like the very first thing you'll think about when you're like, you know, what's the very old like version of old games? Like I'll even toss out like even like Donkey Kong, who was even on there, Mario. I mean, like that one was definitely a huge point to where it's like the first thing you think about is going to be Mario. So I'm definitely, it's a hard argument to really not think about when it's like that one for sure. But I will have to say though, Asteroids for sure. Like if you're thinking of like an older crowd, it's definitely going to be Asteroids. Like if you think, you know, one of the bigger moments in video games of just like how much you can do in that game and how long you'll last just by doing random movements and things will change. It's very entertaining to think about. But I will have to definitely say, like, again, out of just the definition of it and as well as what the argument states, it's hard to beat. But Belted Papa with, you know, the Super Mario Brothers is Mario, without a doubt.
All right, Papa gets first strike again. JB3, what'd you think?
All right, so I thought Nicky brought up really a lot of good points. There was a couple things though. Nicky kept saying that it's about, you know, being iconic. You can't say that Mario's not iconic, and then you kind of admitted that Super Mario was a great game, not an iconic game, but a great game. But one of the things that makes a game iconic is that it has to be a great game. Papa really, really brought the points. I mean, like, you know, like Silvis said, you think about old video games, you think Mario. It built the NES. You know, it's their platform character. You know, the game has all the different levels, has a modern influence, a unique impact. Mario Maker. I mean, there was just too many things there. So Nicky brought the fire, but Papa West took the wheel. I gave it to Papa.
All right. Mr. COVID, what did you think?
I'm glad everyone had such nice things to say about Nicky's argument, and I will preface this with saying, I think you're a great guy, Nicky. This was a terrible argument.
Oh, it really was.
First of all, it's not a side scroller. In fact, it's so literally not a side scroller because things move around a fixed space, but also the icon, which is just a triangle. Like that is the only icon of Asteroids is a triangle, which, hey, the pharaohs of Egypt have definitely weighed in on. It's a very iconic image, but it's pretty old school. If you go to the bottom of the screen, you pop out on the top on Asteroids. It is like, it is the opposite of a lot of games in terms of its spatial, but it's definitely not a side scroller. But the other thing is, I was that kid that played in the arcade, and that was your Asteroids was maybe everybody's 15th or 16th favorite game. And long before that, when you got to the arcade, you would definitely hit Donkey Kong. And to be able to draw a direct line from Donkey Kong to Mario Brothers, that the idea that the secondary character in Donkey Kong would launch 30 years of another video game thing is kind of insane. I mean, the shot of those mushrooms or whatever, or the 8-bit, I mean, this is how everybody first saw 8-bit was that when people imitate music from 8-bit, they're imitating Mario. And then, and it's a plumber, and yet we all know it. So that's like, I mean, it's the idea of like iconography. It's like, it is kind of impressive what Mario has done in terms of being an icon. It's the secondary character from Donkey Kong. You imagine the secondary character from Centipede becoming like the reason that we're all playing VR right now. I couldn't imagine it, but anyway. So that was a lot of fun. But no, Triangle's not an icon.
Yeah, you definitely got to give Nicky credit for. You got to give Nicky credit for trying, though.
Yeah,
more power to your brother. You had an idea and you ran with it. What can we say? But let's move back to one of your strengths, Nicky, and that comes in the realm of fighters. What is the most iconic character in any fighting-based game? Nicky, this is your strength. You got a minute and a half to start talking. Don't forget, gentlemen, you do have your extra life in your back pocket if you need it.
So for this question, I picked Batman. And the reason I picked Batman was because he's Batman. I mean, let's face it. He's Batman. He does all the Batman things, and especially in the fighting games that he's in some for the older systems. But the ones that I'll cover today are Batman from DC Universe versus Mortal Kombat. Very underrated game. Injustice Gods Among Us and Injustice 2. Batman is a great character that you just gravitate towards when it comes to those fighting games. Injustice 2 has this really cool aspect where you can customize your character, and who doesn't want to build their own Batman costume? I mean, that's awesome. As far as like moves go, gameplay moves go, like I said, you got the Batarang, you got the grappling hook, you get to kick. They have special like combo moves that you can do where he does different martial arts. You can smack the guy with your cape. He has bat smoke bombs. He'll use the grappling hook to go up and away. He'll call in the Batwing to do the super moves where like it goes in the Batwing, then it comes up, and then it does that silhouette thing, the move like Moon, like Michael Keaton. And it's just a really cool player to play as in that game. And not only that, but Batman in those Injustice games has a really rich storyline, which I don't think you really get from a lot of fighting games, especially some of the older ones. That where you'll get the character, but you won't get much story. Batman is at the heart of the story for Injustice Gods Among Us 1 and 2, and I just think that Batman, any gameplay, I would want to play that.
Time. Okay, there it goes. All right, Papa, minute and a half when you start talking.
I want to reiterate the question real quick. So the question is, what is the most iconic character in any fighting game? So with that question, you can toss out everything that they have been in that is not a fighting game and just go off of fighting games in general, this character. Which this character is someone we've actually already talked about. It's someone who has built a worldwide powerhouse on some of the greatest games. But we're not doing that. We're just looking at the fighting games this character has been in. This character has been in every single Super Smash Bros. Game. So you have the original Super Smash Bros., Super Smash Bros. Melee, Super Smash Bros. Brawl, Super Smash Bros. For the Wii U, and 3DS. I will characterize those together. And Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. 5 games. He has been the main character in all those games. And on the box art, he has been front and center on all of the box arts. The person I'm talking about, again, is Mario. You do not have video games without the red-clad plumber. But you don't... He's the most iconic character in all of Nintendo in general. But again, when I think of Super Smash Bros., I think of Mario punching Link in the face, shooting fireballs at Samus, picking up Yoshi, throwing him around in a circle and throwing him off the stage. I think of Mario.
All right, guys. 5 minutes. Fight it out.
So I definitely think Mario is one of the characters that most people gravitate towards when playing the Super Smash Brothers games. Like, he's one of the golden age, the holy trinity of Super Nintendo characters. Zelda, Samus, and Mario. Like, those are the characters that everybody associates with those Super Smash Brothers games. I was thinking in a little bit more broader context with just a catalog of characters to pick from all different fighting games. I honestly considered picking Scorpion, but it's one of those things where if you're just looking at a board of characters, If all these fighting games were combined together, which character would you pick? And for me, it was just Batman was a no-brainer. I just gravitated towards that character. It wasn't anything against Mario. I just didn't.
You wanting to pick Batman over everybody else has nothing to do with him being more iconic. You wanting to pick Batman over everyone else is just because you like the way Batman looks.
Oh, it was his story arc in those video games. It was the customization. It was the moves. It was the fact that you could viscerally be Batman in those fighting games. You could use his entire arsenal, everything on his utility belt and off his utility belt.
As far as vehicles go with
those fighting games, I think he has a great story arc in the Injustice game, whereas Mario doesn't really have much story arc at all in the Super Smash Bros.
Because no fighting games have story arcs. I mean,
this one
Injustice has a story arc.
DC versus Mortal Kombat does, and Injustice 2 does. Those are 3 games that have story arcs. You said no fighting game has story arcs, and that is not true.
Name one more that has a story arc.
I don't need to. We're talking about arts. We're talking about Batman, and we're talking about Mario. I'm picking Batman, especially because of Injustice 2, because you can customize how Batman looks. You can
customize how everybody looks. Guess what? You can customize the way everybody looks in Injustice 2. Guess what? In Super Smash Bros., if you go to your character, you can hit X and Y and change the way they look too.
Blue. You can make Mario look like different primary colors. I'm talking about having
you can turn him into
armor.
America.
Batman look like the Hush costume. You get Batman look like Justice League Zack Snyder's Justice League.
He has multiple costumes. Mario has the exact same thing.
It's the exact same thing, but with different colors. It gives you more of a gameplay experience. That's one thing about the Super Smash Brothers is that they're not really different between each system. They just updated the graphics. The character library is more vast.
They added more characters too.
Controls, but it's not the Mario you're getting in there. Is you're gravitating towards Mario because he's the marquee character. I always went towards Samus or Link just because I like space and I like archery.
That's because you're weird.
But it's a different game.
But and Nicky, here's the question though: who is more iconic? When you think of Super Smash Bros., you think of Mario. When I think of DC versus Mortal Kombat, I think of Scorpion first off.
That's
then
what you think of. I also said Injustice and Injustice 2. And when I think of Injustice, when you look at the storyline that Batman has in that game, it's not just because he's a great fighter in that game. That game gives you a campaign, which you did admit not a lot of fighting games do, which gives Batman an edge because you're not just a stick fighter. You're actually a character in the game.
When people play fighting games,
so when you're fighting as Batman, you're actually throwing those batarangs. You're actually fighting Superman. You're fighting the rest of the Justice League. You're fighting your friends. We believe what we want to as humans. And the thing is, I don't believe that the characters in Super Smash Brothers, any of them, actually exist. I believe in the Batman. I believe in Bruce Wayne. So when I'm playing DC versus Mortal Kombat, when I'm playing Injustice Gods Among Us, when I'm playing Injustice 2, I pick Batman out of all those characters, not just because he has the best skill set, but because he looks the coolest. It's all these different elements. It's the game he plays in,
he looks the
how
coolest.
he looks, and it's the moves that there are. There are a vast different number of moves in Injustice Gods Among Us Batman, DC versus Mortal Kombat Batman than Mario has. Mario, you can throw a fireball, you can do the spinny flip thing, you can throw the guy off the banner. But
you also have the cape, you can punch, you can kick, you can jump up, and if you do the upbeat, it does the coin to ding. A coin shoots up. There's actually a pretty good mix of stuff that you can do. Plus,
it's a great game.
He's the only character in Super Smash Bros. Who has never really changed from game to game. He's always had the main moveset. Plus, he's been cloned twice, which does not happen a lot of times. And when you look at the box art of the Injustice games, the first Injustice, you know who's front and center? Joker. Injustice 2, who's front and center? Superman. When you think of Injustice,
in the campaign mode of the game, you select Batman twice. You don't play as Joker twice. You play as Batman twice because it's Batman's story. The story is about Batman trying to take down the tyranny of Superman. That's why I love Batman in that game. That's why if I had a wall of all these characters,
he's not the most iconic character in your game. He's not the most iconic character in your game.
He went overtime.
Yeah, you do it all the time, Nicky.
All right. This is Nicky's strength, so Papa West, you're going to go first.
In every single Super Smash Bros., if you tap B, Mario shoots a fireball. If you do the side B, he throws the cape. He's a character that doesn't change. And again, you can get different looks of Mario in Super Smash Bros. Ultimate. You can change it to where he has the red, white, and blue outfit, to where he has the red and white stripes, the blue shirt. You can do what a lot of people like to call Wedding Mario off of Mario Odyssey. There are a lot of different costume designs for Mario in Super Smash Bros., just like Batman. A lot of people, the first time they ever played as Mario was in Super Smash Bros. No one ever picked up DC versus Mortal Kombat or the Injustice series and played as Mario or played as Batman for the first time. When you think of video games in general, you think of Mario. He's the most iconic character. He transcends video games. And again, when you think of Super Smash Bros., with the cover art, when they sell their game, that is what you're looking off, is that cover art. Who's front and center? Right. Mario. All
right, Nicky. This is do or die, bud.
I'm going to use my extra life.
All righty. Let me reset the clock to 2 minutes. And 2 minutes when you start talking.
So the question is, what is the most iconic character in any fighting-based game? So when I looked at that question, what I did was I compiled a list of characters from every single fighting game that there is. I looked at the characters, I looked at the names, and I thought of what I felt when I played with those characters. And it was a no-brainer for me that it was Batman. Batman is the most iconic character in any fighting game because he's in not just those 3 fighting games that I mentioned, DC versus Mortal Kombat, Injustice 2, Injustice 1. He's in other fighting games for earlier platform systems that, I'll be honest, I probably wasn't old enough to play those systems when those games came out. But as far as Injustice 1 and Injustice 2 goes, Jacob made my point for me that not a lot of fighting games even have a storyline. So the fact that Injustice 1 and 2 have a storyline, and the fact that it's a Batman versus Superman storyline, makes it all the more compelling to play as Batman. Batman is standing up for truth. He is standing up for justice, vengeance for his parents, and you know that he is going to stand up for what's right, even when Superman loses his way. Batman in this game not only has an incredible skill set as far as batarangs, smoke bombs, grappling gun, but you have the advantage in Injustice 2 of physically altering the character so that you can choose which Batman is yours. Everybody who I know wants to design a Batman costume. They want to print out a Batman costume and wear a Batman costume that they designed. They want to adapt a design from the comic book. You can do that with the Injustice 2 Batman. You can make Batman however you want him to look. You can make him look as close to the Bob Pattinson Batman as you want, or you can make him look as close to the George Clooney Batman as you want. It has full customization, and that's why Batman is the most iconic game. Not just because he's Batman, but because of the games that he's in. Super Smash Bros. Mario has been the same in all of the Super Smash Bros. Games.
Time. Back, Mr. JB3. All right, gentlemen. JB3, you're going to go first. Lay it on us.
First off, I would just like to say I disagree with both of you. I don't know how those 2 characters got chosen when you have all the fighting game characters that you have. You have Ryu, and I know some people say Ryu, but in the game said you. But Ryu, you got, I mean, that's just one from Street Fighter. Then you got Liu Kang. Scorpion was mentioned. So I just want to say I'm a little disappointed, guys. However, within your arguments, with my ears as I was listening, Nicky was really bringing up a lot of points of why Batman was good in the Injustice games or in the other game he was in, depending on all the things that could happen. Papa West talked more about, again, it's Mario again, but Mario, how he was iconic. Now, I don't feel like he's the most iconic fighting character of all time, but within the arguments, I think that he made more points of why Mario is a more iconic character fighting than Batman was. So I gave my point to Papa West.
All right, let's go around the horn to Mr. COVID-19 himself.
This was there's only one answer in this one, and Papa, you seem like a very lovely man, but I can't go with you on this one. And there were so many points made here that I thought bolstered Nicky's argument. The idea of there being no story arc in a fighting game, Batman's story arc is so built in that that even whoever Batman's fighting, it's for vengeance, it's for justice. The variety of Batman costumes are all built on a very iconic frame. There's going to be a bat on the chest, but what type, what color, this sort of thing. There's going to be ears, but they're going to be 10 feet tall, or are they going to be, so I think all this stuff, whereas, with Mario, you got bib overalls. I mean, how exciting can bib overalls get? That is just not, it's an icon, granted, and I think those points were made very well about him. But this is iconic in a fighting game. I think you could ask people all day and not have them go, "Oh, great fighter, Mario." Even though in this game, yes, that's what happens. But Batman is a fighter outside of the game, and in other games with plot lines and stuff, he's a fighter in those too. So he's just such a fighter through and through. I agree that he's a character that comes fighting into a game, and Mario comes from another game. That it would be a different category of fighters that were created in fighting games, which, Scorpion or some of those people. But, compared to how well-known Batman is or how iconic every inch of Batman is, Scorpion even doesn't even hold a chance.
All right, witness. Who gets the point this round?
Okay. First off, I'm going to give you guys both props for not going for the main flagship fighters.
True, yeah.
You had so many people that you could have picked out, but you guys chose, different guys entirely. You could have gone with, like JB said, you could have went and grabbed Ryu. You could have grabbed, you could have even grabbed Ken. You could, and in Mortal Kombat, you could have said Sub-Zero. And fun fact with Sub-Zero, he was also in Injustice. Surprised that wasn't brought up as well. But you also got Scorpion in Mortal Kombat. That's a huge name. I mean, who doesn't think of fighting games and yells out, "Get over here"? Who does?
Scorpion wins.
Exactly. But when it comes to all the other names that you could have picked, you guys picked two really hard to fight with things. But I'm going to have to agree with COVID-19 Wolf. When it comes to fighting, your first point when it's what do you think with Mario? Yeah, you've got a little bit of fighting. But when it comes to just thinking of comics, storyline, the amount of power and passion that Batman has and everything, along with just you can even go as far back as Adam West Batman, and even he was fighting. Yeah, it might have been silly, but it was fighting. But
it was more like a video game and side-scrolling. Actually, it said "POW" on the screen and stuff. I mean,
exactly. So when it comes to this argument, I'm all for Nicky on this one. When it comes to fighting, Mario I see is more of an icon of just being the icon that he is. But when it comes to fighting games, when we put it into the perspective of fighting, I'll have to give it for Batman, because literally, as you even said, COVID, what's the first thing Batman's going to do? He's either going to be moping or he's going to be kicking someone's butt.
Out. Let's drop everybody to the back and continue to move on with this fight. Personally, I thought you both had amazing arguments, gentlemen. You know what? Sometimes we win some, we lose some. But we're going to move into the next question, which is also in Jacob's strength of modern classics. And the question is, with GTA rumored to be releasing another game within the next year, what location and year should the game take place? That's a long one, so I'll read it again. With GTA rumored to be releasing another game within the next year, what location and year should the game take place? Papa, this is your strength. You got minute and a half on the clock. Don't forget, you still got your 1 minute extension if you need it.
I'm yelling at my dog right now.
Oh, good for you.
When you think of Grand Theft Auto, you think of two things. You think of driving around in cars, stealing cars, kicking people out, whatever. But then you also think of having just an arsenal of really cool guns. But that's really it for Grand Theft Auto. We've had kind of some different eras. You've had a lot of the classic stuff, like Grand Theft Auto 4, Grand Theft Auto 5, San Andreas. You've had some go to the past a little bit. Vice City was kind of in the 70s. Grand Theft Auto 3 was a little bit further back there. So what's something that we've never seen with Grand Theft Auto that we really need to see and would be great to see? And I think that would be Grand Theft Auto in the world of gangsters. So I am picking Prohibition era Chicago, 1920s, 1930s. You are a man caught up in the mob, and you are following a man by the name of Al Capone. And the name should sound very familiar. He's one of the most notorious mobsters. And you are following him. You are watching the rise of Al Capone. One thing Al Capone did a lot, because during Prohibition, you weren't allowed to have alcohol. He bootlegged whiskey from Canada into the U.S. You could have a lot of those missions. A lot of fun.
All righty, Nicky, 90 seconds.
All right, so I don't know what other people think about when they think of Grand Theft Auto, but when I personally think of Grand Theft Auto, I think of cars, I think of girls, I think of amazing high-speed crime, I think of gangs, I think of guns, I think of violence, I think of an architecture, an environment that's conducive to this. And I can't think of anything that's more conducive to this than 2010's Rio in Brazil. The city of Rio, not only that, it is architecturally beautiful and unique and distinctive. That, you know, if you're looking at a shot of Rio, you are looking at Rio, you're looking at Brazil. The way that the hilly roads, basically I'm pitching Fast 5 in a Grand Theft Auto game, except different. Basically more Grand Theft Auto, more adult, more violent. And the reason I want to see this is because basically in Rio, the gangs are what run that city. You're in a city of crime. In Grand Theft Auto, you can't have Grand Theft Auto without crime. A lot of the Grand Theft Auto games take place in New York City, a lot of crime in New York City, but New York City isn't completely overrun with crime so much that the gangs are the government. As far as Rio is concerned, the gangs are the government. In Rio today, the gangs are enforcing quarantines so that people stay home so that they don't spread the coronavirus. That's how intense gang culture is in Rio, and I think that really fits in well with the Grand Theft Auto game.
Time, right on the money. All right, guys. Where's that timer? There it is. 5 minutes. Fight it out. Let's be civil. Please don't make me have to stop you.
So, Nicky, you said what's really cool about Rio is you look at it and you know you're in Rio. The only reason you know you're in Rio is whenever you have the statue of Jesus, you're looking at the back of it and you're looking at the city. No other picture of Rio where you're like, man, that's Rio. And also you talked about the gangs.
Disagree. I think that the roads are incredible in Rio. The roads are distinctive. They have roads where you go through these towns, where these towns are made out of scraps of metal, scraps of wood that are holding these houses together. The poverty in Rio is intense. The gang violence in Rio is intense. It's something that would be a very interesting backdrop, not only interesting, but educational for a Grand Theft Auto game to do.
So you talk about the gangs. Guess what? Gangs are in mine too. You're literally following Al Capone.
Gangs are in every
head gangster. I know, but you're saying what makes yours different is because all of Rio was ran by gangs. Guess what? That's the way Chicago was.
I didn't say that's what made mine different. That was just a different point.
That's exactly what you said, because
I didn't
with
say
New
what
York,
makes
you
mine
have violence.
No,
you have the
not
violence,
what I said.
But the gangs don't run everything.
You want to misquote me, you go on that. I'm going to talk about my game. What my game would have, you would have fast cars in the modern era, which means you could bring in different corporate sponsors to get the game made. It's low overhead for the game company to make it, and it's great for the players to play because you can go into new cars, you can go into old cars. The car scene in Rio is incredible because it's a mix of old and new. You have people that are desperately trying to hold on to old cars because it's all they have, and you have people with new cars that are rich and the gang lords that are doing the street racing like we saw in Fast 5. This is stuff that's actually happening in the real world today. I'm not arguing against your period piece. Your period piece would make a great game, and I'd love to have both of these games. It's just when I look at the question, I see a unique game, something that we haven't seen before in Rio. Grand Theft Auto Rio, whatever you want to call it, or Grand Theft Auto, they wouldn't call it Rio, they'd call it Grand Theft Auto Central America or something, because they don't use real city names in Grand Theft Auto.
So you say it's unique because you have people with old cars, you have people with new cars, people that are holding on to it. This sounds a lot like Grand Theft Auto 5, where you have people with rundown old cars, you have the super high-tech, super fast cars. Literally, you play as a character named Franklin who lives in the hood and then moves up to Vinewood, which is pretty much Hollywood. Everything that you are offering in your game, I can get in Grand Theft Auto 5. What I want in a Grand Theft Auto game is something new, something that we haven't seen, so that people are going to be playing this game and not reverting back to Grand Theft Auto 5. Or like, man, this seems really familiar. It's just like Call of Duty. There are all these Call of Duty games that come out, and they're the exact same, and people are getting tired of it. So Grand Theft Auto, do not do that. Do something different, and you get that.
And what I am pitching is different. You have a city that is overrun. How? I'm trying to tell you how. You're just not listening. How?
No, I'm listening. It's just you're explaining Grand Theft Auto 4 and Grand Theft Auto 5.
It's a South American country where you don't have... He's misquoting me. I'm sick of it.
8, 7, 6, 5.
I'm going to talk. You talked for a long time.
Keep going.
You can't do much unique with a Grand Theft Auto game. Now, you're pitching an interesting game, which is a period piece. And I would love to play that game. But the game that I am pitching is a game that will actually make people look into Rio, look into Brazil, look at this horrible situation where these people have to live under gang lords. These gang lords are literally the government in this country. The architecture of this country is something unique where you don't need to have the name Rio attached to the game so that you can know that the architecture it is. Liberty City is clearly New York City. Chicago, that could honestly just be another New York City. As much as I like the period piece game, I would rather play a game that's in the current day in a South American country that we haven't seen before. Go outside the privilege of America.
So what's privilege about Franklin living with his aunt in the ghetto? Literally gang fights happening very often. And also, when playing Grand Theft Auto 5 and seeing that, who was like, I'm going to research how people live in the hood. And, you know, that's
nobody, because really it was boring. Grand Theft Auto doesn't use real people. They changed the names.
Alrighty, Nicky, this is Jacob's Strength. 1 minute.
So yeah, I picked Rio because it's a place that not a lot of Americans actually know what goes on down here. American knows about their own history. And another thing, Grand Theft Auto doesn't use historical characters. They're not going to use a real life person because they don't want to disgrace their brand. They don't want to disgrace the person. Any relation to real events is coincidental in these games. I'm pretty sure every single Grand Theft Auto game that we've had has been set in America. We've had games that's been set in different time periods before. I want to see a game that's set outside of America. I want to see what it's like for crime in these other countries like South America, like Rio. I mentioned Fast 5 before. This is exactly what I was thinking. I want to basically Grand Theft Auto as a Fast 5 as the template, and then you do things in there, except it's a lot more adult because it's Grand Theft Auto. And I actually want a story to this. I don't care about any of the Grand Theft Auto stories in the game. You give me a story about a family that's struggling in Rio and they have to turn to crime, that would be depressing.
Baba, 1 minute. Can you win the game?
Maddie, will you please let me add my second minute on there? Or my extra minute, so then I have 2 minutes.
Yes, sir.
So again, Nicky, everything you're saying about Grand Theft Auto Rio is exactly what I got in Grand Theft Auto 5 and Grand Theft Auto 4. Grand Theft Auto 4, you're Nico, you're an immigrant coming to America, living in crap for a while. No one's gonna play the game and like, man, I need to study how life was like how life is like in these areas and really get on this social justice and make it better for them. No, when they play a game, they just have fun. And everything that you are offering, I've played in the last 2 Grand Theft Auto games. Here's the great thing about my game. It's something new. You take out all the super fast cars. It's all like the Model A's, the suicide doors, a lot of just different vehicles, which would be really cool to watch. Plus, you take out all like the super high-tech weapons. You have a pistol, you have a revolver, a Tommy gun, rifle, shotgun. It really makes it feel like you're in an old game, but you're still in Grand Theft Auto because you're going around taking people out. And the fact that you don't like the story in Grand Theft Auto is sad. Grand Theft Auto has actually had some really good stories, and that's exactly what you're doing with my game. Grand Theft Auto, let's just call it Prohibition. Why not? You're following a guy who hasn't had the best life, is growing up in the mob, trying to get high up in there. He's beneath Al Capone. You see the rise of him. Talk about a great story there. You get intertwined with the cops because you got to remember, during this time, the cops were trying to get Al Capone in any way they could. They had to finally get him for tax evasion. Like a man who killed hundreds of people, stole millions of dollars. We're finally getting him because of tax evasion. Al Capone ran Chicago. This would be a cool idea, something we've never seen before. I want to see it. And it's history. You got to love history.
Whew. Man. Swinging for the fences. Bring back the judges. JB3 has disappeared. Adam, when you're ready.
These are some great arguments because the Brazil thing, that the architecture of that land, I mean, you've seen it in so many buildings, like the Incredible Hulk, all those rooftops or the Bourne Supremacy. You've got all those. I mean, I just hearing about that. I wanted to drive a car up that big Jesus statue and can you launch all the way to the ocean? And of course, there's lots of gangs, and you go from the jungle to the city and all that sort of stuff. But man, I got to tell you that you are onto something with the Papa is onto something with the Prohibition. Has GTA done Chicago as a city yet? Chicago Prohibition.
No.
When I say Prohibition, do you know what the cars look like? Immediately. Like, I mean, I understand, like, the Fast Five thing would be a really cool element to have in a Grand Theft Auto game, especially in a place like Brazil. But when you think, by the way, the invention of NASCAR came from bootlegging and moonshine running.
That is a fact that I love.
Faster and faster cars. Yeah. So you would have to build your cars as you're bootlegging more and more and rising to the rising.
So Adam wins this round, everybody.
I'm just and you think of all the missions from the Untouchables, all the things they had to go to like that bridge, the bridge chase and on all the stuff you see the Untouchables. You're like, I can imagine each one of those trying to get away from it. And I thought that sounded pretty cool. And the rise to power, like in the other GTA games, you know what you're doing because you've seen Scarface, and you're like, oh, I do this, and then first you get the money, then you get the women, yeah, sort of thing. But this one is quite literal. You're like, oh yeah, a Capone. You got to go from living in Indiana, and then this and building up there, and you eventually end up in Cuba if you're an associate. So it just goes all over the place. That's a pretty good one. I gotta vote with Pop on that one. That's pretty fun. And the music.
All right, Witness, how about you?
This one, I have got to say, this was a bloody one. Like,
that's the music you're talking about.
Like this one was a hard. Like I even had to backtrack myself because I almost made a mistake. I was like, wait a minute, didn't Rockstar already go back there? No, that wasn't it. That wasn't them. But I mean, so thinking about it in a sense, like the arguments were there. especially when it comes to like driving around in like the supercars and everything, the drug lords, it would catch my eye and everything. But when it comes to like, how the style would be made, the way that they would take it, I haven't seen a GTA go that way yet, which would be a very weird turn of events on how they would get that kind of, idea of how things work out there. But, and this is a big but, I do not play GTA for educational purposes. I don't see it to want to learn. I see it because I want to play in the moment. When it comes to like GTA, I definitely want to say like, I don't see myself in the middle of Brazil, running around, driving around in supercars. Now, what I can picture is bootlegging days. I mean, in every iconic movie you can think of, you think of, how they got the drinks to and from, how they did it secretly, all of the tunnels and stuff, the secret passages that they made, all of the science that went into the prohibition itself was chaotic in its own nature. Now, thinking of it in GTA's logic, GTA had such a huge draw of just, the sci-fi, the cool, supercars, the super cool jumps, the all the cool shit that you can do in it. But when you think of it like in the old school days, when you didn't have laser guns, you didn't have, all these jetpacks, the flying bike that will shoot a missile down at you from a mile away, and you're like, what the hell? I don't see, it draws it out of me. But thinking of it in the mafia sense, I'm gonna have to go with Papa and the Prohibition. It's such a cool concept to think about with how deep you can go with it.
I'm gonna go ahead and give my opinion and give my choice. So, Nicky, you talked a lot about Brazil. You talked a lot about, like, at first you were doing well talking about the crime, which it doesn't really do much because, Papa West's choice also has crime. So that was really rebutted quick. And then you were going somewhere with the fast cars and the corporate sponsors and the new and the old cars. But you started getting lost on me when you started focusing a little bit more towards, like wanting to get someone to go, to play and to learn. Again, like Witness said, when I play GTA, I want to see how many stars I can get. So I'm going to do all the craziest stuff. You talk about the 1920s in Chicago like that. Like, yeah, it's such a cool concept. You go back in time and all the things. I mean, the gangster stuff, Al Capone, the alcohol trafficking. I mean, all the different things that were said, obviously. And I gave my point to Papa, and Nicky was getting there. It just went off track a little bit. One thing I want to say though, hold on, I want to say this. The one thing that I wish you would have said, Papa, is, and if you did, I missed it. But if you go back in the 1920s, you could meet ancestors of main characters from the other games.
I didn't even think about that. Genius. I didn't even think about that.
And I think that'd be a really cool aspect too. I mean, you'd be able to do a lot of different things that tie together some of the other games. And then, like you said, building your vehicle. Like, imagine being able to use like some of the moonshine to boost your car and to go faster or something. Like, you have to do some crazy stuff.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Sorry, now that you mentioned, meeting the ancestors, now all I can think about is the ancestors of Trevor.
Well, gentlemen, I guess I'll say this. And our winner and new GameZone champion. He is now the double belted Papa Jacob West. So, sir, you've said it before and you said it again. You're going to come for this. You've done it. You didn't do it in 3 like you said you were going to.
Oh, I never said I was going to knock him out.
No, you told me that before, but that's okay. How are you feeling?
I mean, you know how I've been all day today, and I still feel that way. But it's great right now. I'm not happy with how I got the belt because, of course, there are a couple people that I wanted to play for it, but when it all comes down to it, I was given what was in front of me, and I did it. And now I'm the champion in 2 leagues, Matt. It's great.
All right. Anything you have to say to people that are going to try and come for that?
Good luck.
Whoa.
It's not happening. I do want to commend Nicky, though. I have not been looking forward to this all day because Nicky usually debates by talking over you and not letting you say anything. And then when you finally do, he butts in. Nicky, thank you so much for actually the first 3 questions. You were not like that. It was me talk, you talk. We were actually able to have a good fashion debate. That last question started to get a little bit towards that, but thank you so much. I hope you see that as it's a lot more fun to debate like that with letting each other talk. So hopefully we see that more in the future. But you did a great job.
Alrighty, I will drop you back and bring our second place person in. Nicky, you gave it your best. Hell, you did. There's a couple of questions that honestly it was, a crapshoot, either way. I like the idea of a GTA, kind of a Fast 5 GTA, and I personally, your Kingdom Hearts one, I would have gone with you, but that's why I don't judge. How are you feeling?
Yeah, I'm all right. I mean, I'm just happy to be on a stream. I mean, debating definitely isn't my strong suit. To be honest, video games aren't my strong suit either. I'm just happy to be here. Like I said, I was 2-1 in this league. I was shocked to see that I was ranked 3rd. I was like, how did that happen? Was I actually good at this? But yeah, no, congrats to Jacob. I think if it was different circumstances, I could have easily as won tonight. But you get the questions you get, you play with the cards you're dealt, and I had a good time. I think I think maybe I'll go to judging or something, or definitely do more movie debates because that's more my forte. But I had fun, and thank you for giving me a chance.
Or our NASCAR debate coming up before Daytona,
Oh yeah, that's gonna be something.
But I do have to tell you, there is a few matches coming down the road, and you will have to kind of sit for probably about a month or so, but then you will be playing somebody.
Yeah.
So you hang tight. You will be back. Let's bring in our judges and see what they had to say. I hope you found gold there, buddy.
I'm digging it. No, that was a lot of fun. I think Nicky had the best concession speech. I'm just happy to be here. I feel like I should say that more often. I give definitely points to Nicky for that. It made me realize, next time someone asks how I'm doing, I'm like, I'm just happy to be anywhere, frankly.
Next time we see you playing the Schmodown, you'll have to bring that up, and you could go, hey, by the way.
I'm just happy to be here.
There you
I'm
go.
just happy to be.
There you go. Witness, this was your first debate you've ever witnessed here. Like what I did there, huh? What did you think?
What you did there,
guys? I have to say, it's genuinely a ton of fun, especially picking at my brain about all the video games and all the times that I got to enjoy just picking around at everything, especially hearing really good arguments on stuff, especially seeing other people's visuals on stuff. I always enjoyed conversation, but when it comes to video games, this is genuinely a ton of fun. I would definitely do more on this, especially I'll even come on here. I might even do a debate because this seems like a ton of fun.
Any day I can talk about Tron is a good day.
Right.
We can definitely discuss that behind the scenes. Absolutely. JV3, you've been around the block a few times. That's what she said. What do you think?
Let me check with her.
If you know her, then there's a slope we got to talk about.
But yeah, this match, it was a really good match. Started out, very competitive. I mean, I chose, Nicky for the first question. But yeah, throughout the match, it was, I just feel like there was like a steady patience there for Papa. He was very clear on what he was talking about. Risky move to go Mario twice in a row.
It backfired.
Yeah, that one even threw me off for a loop. I didn't even think of that. Like I was not expecting Mario twice in a row for that. It was definitely a surprise to me.
Yeah.
Wait, but it was a good answer though. It seemed to have worked. It's one of those shots he took and it landed.
If it hadn't been up against Batman, it might have been a really interesting argument. But yeah,
that one was a really hard one to beat. Like as soon as I heard Batman, I'm like, good throw.
E fighter,
I mean, the thing is like I'm thinking of all of like the other starred fighting games, and I don't even think about Mario or Batman.
Yeah, but all in all, it was a great match. Papa West, Big Papa, two belted Papa. He's,
well thought.
Champion in 2
Yes.
weeks. Nicky, great challenge, man. Great try.
I'm Batman.
Yeah, keep it moving. Keep it. You said a month, and then I want to see both of you compete again. So, thank you for letting me be on here. It was a great match.
All right, let's bring our competitor. Since he's right next to me, Mr. Adam Witt, where can people find you on the interwebs?
Oh, well, you can always go to the Movie Guys, where I do a lot of skits and stuff with Paul. The Movie Guys Vimeo is where you'll find our most recent work, which is a 2-hour sports commentary over Star Wars.
And he's dead.
Yeah, there's a quote right there. And follow the Movie Guys on Twitter. We posted a couple clips there recently, and so all of our nonsense ends up on the movieguys.net or Movie Guys on Facebook, Twitter, etc.
All righty. Mr. Witness, where can people find you on the interwebs?
You can find me on Kata Silvis Tour Group on Facebook, as well as on YouTube, the Kata Silvis YouTube page. It is, I also show up on there doing my own little live stream of Wisdom from a Witness. I usually do just kind of like I go over, personal things. I always go through psychological things, as well as I like to have paranormal talks. I'm thinking about also throwing in some conspiracies. I'm still toying with that idea.
You ever watch the Star Trek TNG episode named Conspiracy?
I love how he doesn't answer that.
I'll bite. What do they call it?
All right, there's a conspiracy. It's Star Trek TNG. It's the season finale of season 1, and you have these alien parasites that are infiltrating Starfleet and then are mysteriously never heard from again. It was apparently a proto-Borg. You could find me on Nicky Flicks talking about Star Trek on Trek Hub with me, Devin, and Alan. You could find me here on TNG After Dark if you just want to see me do Jar Jar Binks impressions of Alexander Hamilton.
Worth the price of admission.
It really is. Mr. Double Belted Papa, where can people find you?
You can find me on Facebook, Jacob E. West. That is very important because I know a lot of Jacob West, but only one Jacob E. West, and I trust him a lot more than I trust the other Jacob West out there. You can find me all over TMG Entertainment. I am the champion in 2 leagues now. But I partake in all the other leagues, and I run late TV fights. So if you like yelling about those big boxes we all sit in front of, the things that come out episodically, only about 30 minutes to an hour, come talk to me because I am your guy.
All right.
Do an hour, too much TV.
JB3, how about you?
You can find me over at Nerd Entertainment Network. I'm the commissioner of Combat Wrestling Trivia. We do wrestling trivia. There's also movie trivia. There's a few other things that go on there every now and then, some random shows. You can also find me every Thursday night, 10 p.m. Eastern, Matty G. We talk wrestling, the whole week of wrestling at Suplex City Chats here at TMG Entertainment. Yeah. And
what's that one called? Suplex what?
Suplex City Chats.
Nice. Suplex City.
Yeah, that was my brilliance. Yeah, like you heard, you can find myself and JB3 Thursdays here. Saturday nights, I also run our late night talk show called After Dark. Basically, we have people come on, we interview them. We've had Witness, his family, join us once. We've had people from all over the interwebs. Adam's joined us a couple of times.
No, that is good. Adam is good. I was saying good for you, Maddie.
I am the GameZone commissioner here. If you want to talk about getting involved in that, reach out to me, Facebook, Matt Graham. Everybody, this was the GameZone Championship. Don't forget, we're here for